Hi guys, hope you all doing well and welcome back to our series of Microsoft Intune. And in this video, we are going to talk about Intune App Lifecycle Management. If you're watching the series from the beginning, in the last video, we have discussed about the custom roles in Intune, whereas the agenda of this particular video will be knowing four different cycles or four different stages of app lifecycle management, wherein the first one is deploying an application to a particular set of users and devices. The second one is configuring different policies for the application, then protecting the information which is there inside an application, and the last part is retiring the application when it is no longer required. Now let's understand this from a real-time example wherein I have a user who's trying to access a protected resource that can be exchanged online. But in a nutshell, the user will be using two different entities. The first one is a particular application and the other one will be device. Now, it's a very common scenario wherein a user can be using a device that's been managed by you, or he must be using his own personal device. But the fact is that this part of EMM, wherein I'm talking about device management, is something which is offered by Intune MDM. But what we have to focus as of now is Intune MAM part, mobile application management part, wherein I will be showing you how to protect data or how exactly the data protection happens inside the application. Now, when I say inside the application or for the application, what do I mean by this? That once the email account is configured for this particular user, there could be a lot more documents which this user will be using or saving inside this particular application. And what we have to make sure that all this data which is getting saved even on his personal device that belongs to your enterprise should be protected. So now let's move on by understanding how the entire app lifecycle management helps you to make sure data protection is in place. The first thing that will be required is adding an application to Microsoft Intune. Now, when you will log on to Microsoft Intune console for app protection or Intune MAM section, you can actually add different kind of apps, which includes store apps, which includes line of business apps, which includes the apps which you have developed and you have wrapped them with Intune SDK. There are different categories of applications, which I will be covering in a lot more detail. But as of now, just assume that Intune console gives you the option to add different kind of applications. Once the application is added, the next part is to deploy that application to different set of users or groups or devices. Now, when we will assign application to users, I can actually make that application available on company portal console. Now, what do I mean by this? That this is something which helps you to achieve a very common use case, and that is, as a user, I want one-stop access for all of my enterprise applications. That means that there should be a console wherein I can see what all applications I need, and the moment I click on any of those, that particular application should get installed on my phone. Now, this is something which you can achieve through company portal, because when you deploy a particular application to a particular set of users or devices, you can actually select that option in the console itself of Intune, that whether you want this application to be available in the company portal console or not. Now, there are two things which I really want to clear now, and that is, just installing company portal application doesn't mean that your device is getting enrolled. The device will only get enrolled when the user will enroll the device, or the user will click on enroll button. Otherwise, the application just gets installed and that application can be used to publish different applications. Now, once the deployment part is completed, the next part is configuration part, wherein you can define the startup policy of a particular application. Likewise, adding favorites or blocking site on an Intune managed browser. The next section is protecting the application, which is the most important part and which we will be covering in a lot more detail, wherein I will tell you how exactly the data inside an application is protected, how the data inside an Outlook application, which is a protected application, cannot be shared with any other application. Now, as you can see, I have mentioned that the protection section includes two different components. The very first one is conditional access, and the other one is app protection policy. Now, the reason I have mentioned conditional access here because the first part of authorization can easily be controlled by conditional access itself. And I have covered conditional access in a lot more detail in two different videos. And I will be sharing the link in the description. If you guys want, you can review that. But app protection policy is very specifically and it is very precisely related to Intune MAM, wherein I will be controlling the corporate data inside a particular application. Now, let's say you have all this configuration in place, and after some time you realize that a particular application is not required for your enterprise, then in that case, you can simply retire that particular application from your Intune console, or you can just remove that particular application for your enterprise. So this was all about knowing how the entire process works for Intune app lifecycle management. A quick summary of what all we have discussed. We have discussed about the four different stages of app lifecycle management: deploying, configuring, protecting, and retiring applications. In the next video, I'll be showing you how you can add and deploy different applications to different set of users. If you guys have learned something new, please feel free to subscribe. If you have any feedback, please feel free to reach me at learnconceptswork@gmail.com. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Bye bye.